Alphabet Man, tearing down the strongholds, exposing the darkness, wrecking the enemy's plans. Endurance till the end. It's time for the Alphabet Man Live.
Hey, good morning, good morning. Look, we're all wishing David, and especially his mom, the very best, as David lost his brother yesterday. And our hearts and prayers go out to the authors. I also note that there's going to be some unexpected expenses, so if you can go to David's site, please consider helping him out. If you know anything about David, you know where his heart must be for his brother, and having lost a son of my own, I can associate, but not really imagine what David's mother's going through. That's never an easy time, losing a child. We do pray for the safe travel back to New Jersey, that the Lord give the entire family a sense of comfort beyond all understanding. You know, I mentioned David's mom. You know, she must have had a difficult time bringing up young David without his father and then the life that David chose to follow. Wow, that's not what a mother would imagine when they gave birth to a child. It's interesting in that in my lifetime, I've talked with a lot of folks about their family, and it seems that children, especially the male of the species, have a knack for making mothers feel uncomfortable. In my case, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. Peace, love, joy, and understanding. If it feels good, do it. And I sure as heck did. Do you remember the first time you left the family home to go out on your own? Remember the feeling of relief? The rules and regulations have all been released. You no longer have the control from home. From home. Freedom at last. And if you were in the 60s and 70s, whoo, like I was, that relief was incredible and groundbreaking, sadly. And speaking of the 60s and the 70s and relief from the think about this. I was listening to a coach's show this morning. They mentioned 1969. But in 1962, this is the era I'm growing up in. This is getting ready to get out of the home, and the things that were setting up for myself and my peers, us baby boomers. They took prayer out of public schools in 1962. In 1963, out with the Bible, right? 65, the Supreme Court legalized contraception. Whoopee. And then we had pornography laws passed in 1969. I don't know whether, well, maybe many of you don't, but Andy Warhol released a very erotic movie called The Blue Movie. It was a movie that featured explicit sex acts and received a wide theoretical release throughout the United States. Then in 1973, think about everything that's happening here, how quickly things are changing. Abortion became the law of the land. Look where we are today. My goodness. And at the end of these two incredible, liberating decades, as our finishing act, we baby boomers decided to take down the 10 Commandments from the schoolhouses. And after the schools removed them, they came out of the families, and of course, they came out of the church. Then it got quiet for a while. I guess while we baby boomers were growing up, at least for a generation, and then we started taking control again. Starting in 2002, we went back to work where we left off and finished our business in the public schools by taking out under God from the Pledge of Allegiance. Homosexuality normalized in 2003. Homosexual marriage in 2015. You know, I'd mentioned no-fault divorce. And statistically, 75% of divorces are initiated by women. With the alimony and child support laws and division of property, oftentimes men are left having to support two households, if they can. And many are left alienated from their children. I can speak personally to this too. And studies have shown that the long-term effects of divorce are not good on children. There's some life-altering consequences that happen. So you throw the question out on the internet. Do you think divorce has harmed men and children more than women? And you get the answer back, no, it's just the opposite. More women file for divorce than men because most women cannot wait around for financial support, particularly if they have children and are only able to manage low-paying jobs. Yes, women comprise a great deal of that workforce. And then there's common sense responses. You're right, society is taking a beating from divorce. 90% believe that adultery is wrong, but 50% of marriages have an affair. You think of how much of a mess our families are in America. Favorite subject of mine, 50% divorce rate. You've got pornography in the homes. You've got drug abuse, child abuse, spousal abuse. You got the government coming in and taking natural children out of natural homes and putting them in homes with two mommies and two daddies. And don't you think that those kids aren't going to be confused because of that? If they survive. It's just so sad where we've left ourselves. And, you know, where does all this go? I gave you a video, Jared, the Babylon Bee. Can you play that for us, please? Yeah, the first video. This should be just a 3-minute clip. The 27-year-old Indian man is going to sue his parents. I think that's it. Yeah. This is answering the question where this is going to go next, at least part of it.
There is no need to have children. There is no need. There are parents who feel, people who could be parents, who feel incomplete when they are infertile, when they cannot have children. How sad is this? And how horrible is this? It is the best thing. It is the best goddamn thing.
Yeah,
you get to have condomless sex.
I missed it. Go ahead, Jared.
For starters. Secondly, you are not introducing a child into this world. You are not subjecting it to any kind of torture. Isn't this beautiful? Children are not a requirement. They may be a social requirement. You may be brainwashed to think you need them or else you will not be complete. But are you really that incomplete that you need a child? Or even a partner for that matter? How incomplete can you be? How unhappy with yourself does a mother have to be to want to bring an innocent being in this world? You are the worst thing that could happen to a child. The worst thing that could happen to a child are its parents. Parents, the world, and existence in itself. Because look at the world. We've messed it up. You are adding to global warming. Okay, that child could turn out to be a criminal or a victim of criminals. One small mistake and it's over. You will be burying your child or cremating your child. How sad is that? Your child also becomes a source of pain. Why do you want to create a source of pain? Why do you want to create a source of stress? All the time you'll have to think about this child. And if you don't, you're a bad parent. And hopefully, I really hope you'll get arrested by the government. But instead of all these constant adjustments, my child is depressed, I have to take care of him. My child has to go to the hospital. This, that. And children are needy beings. So why not just save yourself the stress? Save the earth the stress. And every one of us will be better off.
I'm not sure if he's joking or not.
He's not. He's serious. This is serious. I thought I do a lot on our Saturday show. By the way, I'll plug that. B.G. Edwards' Last Call, Saturday mornings. I do a lot of articles from Babylon Bee, and they make fun of what's going on in society today. This came out of the Blaze, and from what I can tell, it is real. And if it's not real now, it's going to be real soon. This is hedonism. If you ask a millennial now if they ever plan on having children, the answer you're going to get is, what are those children going to do for me? That's the answer you're going to get. Listen, I mean, the guy's name is Raphael Samuel. He's out of New Delhi, India. And by the way, he plans to sue his parents, with whom he admits to having a good relationship, because they brought him into the world without his consent. Without his consent. And said that children aren't indebted to their parents, and that children should ask their mothers and fathers for an explanation as to why they gave birth to you. Can you see where it's going to go from here? I mean, go ahead.
That's called population control mindset.
Well, that can be part of it, but we've got some pretty well indoctrinated children. I mean, we teach them from, for 12 years, we send them to government-run schools, and they're taught life has no meaning, morals are relative, man's the measure of all things, and the state's their daddy. And then when they go out, life has no meaning, and they kill their classmates, or they kill themselves, or they don't procreate. We shouldn't be surprised. We should not be surprised. But that is a good point. I mean, these are some pretty brainwashed individuals. And they're talking about they're talking about a mother who, it's wrong for a mother to think that she needs a child. Let me tell you something. I graduated from college, and I thought I was big stuff when I graduated from college, but I didn't learn anything. There was two events in my life that taught me what I needed to know in life, and I'm still learning from them. Number one was children. I thought I was intelligent until I had children. Whoa, my goodness. Are they ever a learning experience? You have no idea. For those of you who have children out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They are such a learning experience. When you try to learn in college, you're interested in learning, but when you have children, that's a commitment. And there's emotions tied into that, and worried about what they're doing at 10, 11 o'clock at night, or whatever you're sending them out to do. There's all kinds of concerns there. So it's just incredible. And then he talked about the carbon footprint, and you know where that's coming from. We started this. I helped start this in the 60s. I mean, I was a captain. I was a captain of the guard, and I certainly encouraged all of this. I didn't want anything to do with authority. I wanted freedoms. I was a libertarian, if you will. And then I started to recognize that there is a need for order in society, and that society doesn't come when you're just being hedonistic and you're just thinking about yourself. I got the part of the article on this Raphael Samuel. I want to tell all Indian kids that they don't owe their parents anything. I love my parents, and we have a great relationship, but they had me for their joy and their pleasure. My life has been amazing, but I don't see why I should put another life through the rigmarole of school and finding a career, especially when they didn't ask to exit.
Hey, JR? JR?
Yeah, Jared, go ahead.
Yeah, that is a true statement. Part of that. They had me for their pleasure. Now, maybe they didn't originally, but I've seen it, and even in some people I know, where they had their daughter, they had a birthday party, and they said, we had so much fun watching her open presents that we just had to go and get more presents for her to open. So, okay, so you're gonna because you enjoyed the experience so much, you're gonna force materialism down your 3-year-old child's throat, without any breaks. Really, so that's there's some truth, right? I mean, and the boomer generation. So I'm just, right, there's some truth there in that statement.
I can tell you for a fact, I heard this from a millennial. What is a child going to do for me? Why would I have a child? Because what is it going to do for me? The Christians that are listening in, you ought to be backtracking this reel a little bit, because this can go all the way back to Adam and Eve, can it? Adam could have said to Jesus or God, well, you brought me into this world for your pleasure, right? So this goes, can this not go back on God?
But wasn't our first commandment, JR, to go and replenish the earth?
Yeah, but again, that's selfishness on God's part, because that's more enjoyment for God. God gets to enjoy his children, following the philosophy of Raphael. Don't you think this won't go back there? Don't you think for a second it won't? This is this is anything. I'm not starting a conspiracy, okay? I'm not starting a conspiracy. I'm just saying that if you think this logically through, where this could go back to, and how we could start using this as another point to attack our Creator. But I was stunned when I read this, but then I'm going, yeah, this makes sense. This is me. You had no right to have me. You had me for your own pleasure. Shame on you. Look at all the trouble I've been through. Look at all the hard work I had to do. I have to be self-reliant. I have to actually go out and do something in order to eat. Shame on you, mom and dad. But again, we brought children up in the millennials before and beyond millennials to give them everything their heart's desire was, and even the things that they didn't think about. And Jared, I think you kind of touched on that with the birthday party thing. Did somebody want to come in? I heard a ping.
Well, I was going to mention biblically, and I can't find or think of the scripture, but God said that the woman's salvation would come through bearing children.
Right.
And I don't know if you look at that as a selfish motive or not, but it's purposeful.
Yeah, true.
The idea of bearing children and replenishing the earth, God hasn't changed those plans that I've heard of. And that's a gift. God offers life as a gift. And who's being selfish? The complaining child, I'm here because I have to do something. But he was given a gift, an opportunity.
Yeah.
But he's looking at it from a more selfish perspective than the ones he's accusing.
Yep. Amen to that. Trying to find that article that.
Well, Jared, I've got a question about how does this tie into and that's a good point, Kevin, right? But how does that tie into, honor your father and mother and
well, this would go against this. This would say, this would go against the, what is that? Fourth commandment? Yeah. No. Fifth. Honor your mother and father. This tears down the 10 commandments, because why should I honor you? I'm a result of you're having fun. Does that answer your question, Jared? Or
that's kind of wanted to explore that idea. But now, just to continue, there is, right, if you are approaching marriage and you are approaching it just because you want to have sex and just because you want to have fun and just because you want to do those things, then there is truth in that guy's statement, right? That's kind of my point, is that can be possible, right? I mean, I had sex, now I have a kid. Now, you guys who have had kids, I guess I would defer to your am I off base in what I'm saying? Am I incorrect? Or am
Well, I just had a grandchild that's just a few days old, and and each of my 4 children I had at home. They were delivered at home, and yeah, the pleasure and the excitement of seeing this new life come into the world is unexplained. You know, you can't explain it. You can only experience it. It's amazing to see this new life, and it does bring joy, but it also brings great heartache too. And it's a twofold thing. You know, there's joy and grief in having children. You know, it's like, you know, when you get a new gift, you know, and it's handed to you, and then eventually it seems to get old, right? You know, like, well, that new Mustang you got was great when it was shiny, but 20 years later, you know, sitting in a barn rusting.
Or 40.
Or 40 years, yeah. I don't know where I'm going with that, but the idea of children, yeah, it's maybe there's a selfish motive there, but
Well, Kevin,
that's life in general. When we turn to God and we look at Him, we give that glory to Him. Everything has a different perspective.
So I would say for having one kid, I've been married 7 years, and we've always wanted kids, and we probably did want kids for selfish reasons. But I think it was my pastor one time said, if kids weren't so cute, we'd kill them all, because they're annoying, they're hard, they're tiresome, right? I mean, if you weren't so cute, we wouldn't put up with you. And so I think that I don't necessarily think it's selfish. It's one of those things where in that perspective, we want to glorify God through having kids, and we are never, as humans, because of our sin nature, we are never fully altruistic in our motivations, if that makes sense. So Jared, you're right on with what you're saying, and there was a Facebook post that I was a part of, and this lady said, well, you'll understand when you have kids. She said, it was a Planned Parenthood post, and I said, you know, we need to, instead of abortion, we need to just not have sex, because you have to understand that that's a consequence of having sex, and not a bad consequence. It just is. It is one. And she replies with, well, wait till you have kids and you'll understand. And what I told her was, I said, my wife and I, however many times a week we do, and we always hope for a child as a result of sexual intercourse. Always. And that's, and if that's, because what we say is, if God chooses to bless us that way, then we will welcome that blessing. Does that make sense?
Sure it does. Sure it does. We live in a physical world. We don't live in a spiritual world. And there are pleasures that we, sleeping is a pleasure, right? Eating is a pleasure. Sex is a pleasure. But the Bible tells us how to be responsible in all those areas. You can't sleep 24/7. You need to get something done. You can't eat too much or you're going to get obese, and that's not good for your health. Sex is something that you need to respect. And I can get back into the natural family modem, and that is, if you're going to get married, or when you get married, or before you get married, you should be a virgin before you get married. You should not have tasted of the fruit. I'm not saying I didn't do that or I did do that, but I know that you shouldn't do that. It's those experiences stay with you that you have. So you need to be very, very careful with that. But it is a joy. And you know, this Samuel has a Facebook page called Nihiland, Nihilanand. And here's some comments on that Facebook page. A good parent puts the child above its wants and needs, but the child itself is a want of the parent. Another calls parents hypocrites and asks, isn't forcing a child into the world and then forcing it to have a career kidnapping and slavery? Again, I'll read that again. Isn't a child putting a child in the world akin to kidnapping and slavery? The only reason your children are facing problems is because you had them. This is so self-centered. Go ahead, Jared. This is so self-centered.
Well, I'm just gonna say that's dumb.
Well, it is.
That's just.
I
dumb.
agree.
But welcome to the world we're in today. This started, well, it started a little bit before the 60s when World War II, when men and women were required to be out of the home to keep up with the Joneses, and then the pill came along, and then no fault divorce, and then no responsibilities whatsoever with what you're doing. This is crazy where we are, but don't be surprised at where we're going to go if we don't stop it. We think at the Natural Family Foundation, by focusing on the family, and I'm talking about the natural family, that we can maybe work ourselves out of this. I don't know whether it's too late or not, but I think we've got a good route that if we decide to want to work ourselves out of it, we can.
Actually, JR, I think I'm going to get together with some chemists after the statement you made earlier and create a smart pill and hand them out.
They have those. They're called birth control pills.
Ooh.
Yeah, I get you. I've got I've got one more clip. How much time do we have, Jared?
3 minutes.
3 minutes? Ooh, okay. I don't know whether I can
think
get into
this.
this.
Is the right clip though. FEMA prison barges.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I'm going to get in trouble with this clip anyway, so I just as soon not play it. It's it will get me in trouble. But we need to really be, whether we're Christian or not, we need to be focused on reality and what is happening in our world today. And I gave you a glimpse of what could be happening in the world tomorrow, but it behooves us, those that have been parents, those that are responsible, those that get it, to do whatever we can to try to stop this, it's a landslide of immorality that has just overcome this nation. I'd love to say that the institutions like the media and education and government, and especially the church, are going to help us. But it kind of falls back on us, the individual. And I'll go, by the way, please, the website that we have is naturalfamilystrong.com. Naturalfamilystrong.com. We have a pledge on there we'd like you to consider signing. And what we're trying to do is make people aware of the importance of the family. One man, one woman, lifelong, committed, monogamous relationship. How it's the foundation, the cornerstone of society. And what we're trying to do is find out how many people in America believe this. We just started this up last Friday, so we don't have a whole lot of signatures, but we really think that we can get into the millions. And if somebody were to go to our site and they take a look at this Natural Family Pledge, and they say that 300 to 500 million people or 5 million people have signed this, or 30 million people have agreed with this, what kind of effect would that have on our society? What if you were talking to your congressman and you said you're part of the natural family movement, and they ask you, well, what's that? And you say, well, I'm among 3 million or 5 million people that believe supporting the restoration and concept of the natural family. Once you mention that 3 or 5, numbers matter. I'm sorry, folks, numbers matter. Once you mention that 3 or 5, those individuals are going to take notice. For the most part in society, we're followers. And when we see that you have a Facebook page or a YouTube page, and you've got 100 subscribers, or you've got 100,000 subscribers. The more subscribers you have, the more credibility you have. It's just how it rolls within our nation. So we're encouraging people to, where there's no vision, the people perish. we're in an amoral society. And I think one of the ways to get us out of where we're at right now is through the natural family, by focusing on that. And again, nobody's perfect. No family's perfect. And with a 50% divorce rate and everything else that's going, we're probably talking in terms of natural families, maybe about 10% of the population, if that. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't aspire to the goal, to make that the gold standard, if you will, in America. This is what Americans believe in. We believe in this. Not all of us practice it, but this is what we believe in as Americans. And that's really what we're trying to get across to the community. Our prayers for David and his family, especially his mom. She's had a tough time of it. She's had a tough time of it. But our prayers are with them. And please, if you can go to David's page and support him financially, there's some unexpected finances involved with this. So appreciate that. Appreciate David for allowing me to be on the show again. And I hope what I said today makes some sense to y'all. Thanks, naturalfamilystrong.com. And last call on Saturday mornings.
Awesome. Thanks, JR. All right, folks. We'll see you tomorrow.